I sent him into the future.
All right. So, The Amazing Spider-Man. I'm only about 2 years late in watching this. As you may have guessed, I wasn't overly excited to see this ever, really. The first three, I'm going to call them the original Spider-Man movies. So, the Sam Raimi movies with Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst and James Franco. I'm just going to refer to those as the originals because they were made first. And so that trilogy was pretty good. I liked the first two. I think Spider-Man 2, the second one with Dr. Octopus, is the best one by far. That's just an amazing movie. You can watch that all the time. Third one, not so much. That one was pretty bad, actually. And that came out in 2007. So 2007 was the last one. And then, so the rights, Sony is the company that owns the rights to the Spider-Man movies. And they were going to lose the privileges to the movie, the rights to them, unless they did something with it. And they would have gone back to Marvel, I believe. If they didn't do it, so they decided to do, let's reboot the whole series. We'll just start over with another origin story. Because nobody knows how Peter Parker became Spider-Man, right? That is a very unknown origin story. It wasn't just told a decade ago. But anyways, so they did it. They rebooted it. And it was coming out, and I didn't really care about it too much. You know, Andrew Garfield hadn't been in anything other than really The Social Network. He plays Peter Parker, of course, Spider-Man. Emma Stone, she doesn't play Mary Jane. She hasn't been introduced yet. She plays Gwen Stacy, who is his first girlfriend. And I followed Spider-Man quite a bit in comic books and stuff when I was younger. So I kind of knew. I know her story. I won't ruin that for anybody that doesn't know it. But anyways, so this came out in 2012. It's directed by Mark Webb. Just funny. I think it's funny that his last name is Webb and he's doing a Spider-Man movie. He was known for, before this, he did 500 Days of Summer with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel. That's about all he did, directing-wise. And I thought, okay, this movie might be okay. The trailers and everything looked decent for it, but I wasn't too excited to go watch it. You know, it just looked like they're just retelling an origin story that was just told with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi, and it just didn't look interesting enough. The main villain is the Lizard, which is new. It's a new villain, so they did that right, I guess. They introduced a new villain, but still, I wasn't overly excited to see it. But with the second one coming out in a couple weeks or months, pretty soon, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 original is coming out pretty soon. So I thought, well, I'll just give it a try. At the least, I thought, it'd be a pretty okay action movie, at least entertaining, if nothing groundbreaking or, super original. So I rented it just so I could be caught up on this one if for some reason I wanted to catch the new one. Unfortunately, I didn't like too much about this movie at all, so I'm probably going to rip it apart pretty good. The first thing they do is, instead of sticking to the original story about his parents and everything that we saw in the original Spider-Man and everybody knows from the comics, they give him a different backstory. I kept thinking of Harry Potter. So he loses his parents. He doesn't, have his original parents. He's living with his aunt and uncle. And, Harry Potter, he finds out he's a wizard. And blah, blah, blah. Starts that whole crazy story. And this one, he finds out that his dad actually worked with the Osborn Corporation and was developing all this super scientific stuff. And, I don't know, not a super good parallel there, but I kept kind of thinking about it. And I don't remember any of that storyline when I was younger, but that could be something new, because those comics just go on forever. That could be a storyline that they started with Peter's dad actually being part of Oscorp, which is a giant corporation in this universe. So that could actually be a thing that happened. I'm just not familiar with it. So that's a new little original or twist type thing to this movie, is that his dad was part of the Oscorp Corporation, and he starts finding out, that he started working with Dr. Connors, and Dr. Kirk Connors is scientist working on. We see he actually was working on like the radioactive spiders, which ends up biting Peter. We all know this, and yeah, so on and so forth. So he's working with his dad. That comes into play. I was actually excited to see the actor that played Kirk Connors in the original series become the Lizard, but he never got to. I can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but he's a really good actor, and he was in Trick or Treat. Oh, his name's out to my tongue, but I can't think of it. But anyways, that never happened in the originals. But Rice, I don't know if this is how you pronounce his name right. Rice Ifans is the actor that plays the Lizard in Kirk Connors. He's a British actor. He doesn't have anything too recognizable that I can just kind of think off the top of my head. He was in a movie with Daniel Craig, but nobody will probably know that one. So anyways, story's the same. Peter's in school. He's in high school. Emma Stone is Gwen Stacy. He kind of likes her. She actually works at Oscorp as well. Her dad is Captain Stacy, played by Dennis Leary. He's a police captain. And he starts, following Peter / Spider-Man, and, he's kind of hunting him down or whatever. Peter's uncle, Ben, and Aunt May are played by Martin Sheen and Sally Field, respectively. And I think those are the only big characters. I'm not going to go into the plot too much. He gets bit by a radioactive spider, turns into Spider-Man, he starts getting all these abilities. And then the Lizard is Kirk Connors. He's working on a serum, a formula to reproduce limbs like a reptile would. So like a lizard can grow back its tail and appendages. He's been working on that for a long time. And with the help from something or other, he gets it to work, and he tests it on himself, and it turns him into this giant lizard. Starts terrorizing the city, and Peter has to stop him. Spider-Man has to stop him. So that happens. There's this awesome skateboard montage when Peter is turning into Spider-Man. He's getting his abilities down and everything, and that happens. Great montage scene. The scene with Uncle Ben where he gets killed, that's not a spoiler, everybody knows he gets killed. When he gets killed, that was actually, surprisingly, it was a more emotional scene than I thought it would be. I don't think it worked as well as the original with Tobey Maguire, but it was still decent. I was kind of surprised, I was like, I didn't think I was going to care about it that much because I didn't feel like his relationship with Aunt May and Uncle Ben was as close as we saw with Tobey Maguire's portrayal with his aunt and uncle. But it was still a little emotional. That's one big thing that I didn't really feel like it got conveyed very well, his relationship with his aunt and uncle. In the originals, it's very clear that how close they are, and this one you just don't really get that same connection for some reason. Not for lack of trying. I mean, there's a lot of scenes with them, and they're trying to kind of help him out, deal with his parents' loss. Loss of his parents kind of comes back up again, and they try to be there and support him and stuff. I don't know, I just feel like it didn't work a whole lot for some reason. The first scene when he dresses up in his full costume, he does the evolution through his costume, kind of like Tobey Maguire did. He starts off with just like a mask or whatever, something very simple, and then he gets the full costume, and they show like where he gets his costume from and everything, which worked pretty well. And the first scene where he actually wears his full costume and is fighting people is actually really funny. I was like, okay, this is good. It's a lot of humor, and it's the scene where he's in a car with a car thief and stuff like that. I think it's in the trailer. I haven't watched the trailer yet. I usually post the trailers onto my blog after I do this review. And there's a part where he's like, oh no, a knife, you found my weakness. That part's really funny. So I was like, okay, this is going to be good. I have some good humor in there. Unfortunately, it doesn't last too long. What else? The web, okay, I liked what they did with the web shooters because in the original with Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi, they actually made the web come out of his wrists. Like that was part of his, showing you there, that was part of his mutation that happened with the spider. He could just shoot the web out, which is a problem. A lot of people that know the comics and the original story, that's not how it works for him. He's supposed to be really smart, and he makes his own web shooters, and they have cartridges and stuff like that. So they bring that back, which I liked, and I actually liked what they kind of give it a history, or like a actual functionality to the web shooters. Because when Peter gets bit by the spider, he's at Oscorp, and he sees this whole room full of these radioactive spiders, and they're making web or something. You don't really know what they're doing. But then later, you learn that those radioactive spiders, they're using their web. It's super strong, so it's like stronger than steel, and it's extremely powerful and strong. That's what the spiders are actually in there doing, producing this web. And so that's where he gets it, which is actually, I really like that. I was like, okay, they give some history to it and actually make it functional. And then he improves the design, obviously, for the shooters that he makes and stuff like that. So that's really cool. I like that. And there was one scene that I thought was really original and pretty innovative. He's looking for the lizard. He's already transformed, and it's kind of already going down. He's in the sewer, and he shoots his web in a bunch of different directions down these pipes, and he's sitting in the middle of a hub, so he's like in the middle of all these webs, and he's just sitting there like a spider would on their web, and they feel a vibration, and then go get their prey. And that's what he does. He sits on the web, and he can feel the vibrations. I really like that. I thought that was really original, and it was a good concept. So yeah, those are probably the good things. The way actually throughout the movie, I think the way they used his web was actually pretty cool. I liked that a lot. But actually, I didn't like the lizard as a villain very well at all. The whole story just seemed kind of sloppy. It just didn't seem very well put together, and you're not really invested in the character at all, or him being brought down too much. You're not really rooting against him too much, even though he's a bad guy and he's doing some bad things, but at the same time you're just kind of like, well, who cares? I thought the lizard, the design of him looked like a Goomba. If you remember that amazing movie, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and they had the Goombas, they had like a tiny little head and a big smile, and like kind of like a flat face. I thought that's what the lizard looked like. He looked like a Goomba. Yeah, and there's a couple scenes that just kind of annoyed me. So they did the really good thing with the sewer and the web when he sits on it, and they just kind of ruin it by the fact that he has his camera placed up there to take pictures of the lizard, and so he's doing it. They don't really explain it too well at all, but he's trying to take a picture of the lizard to prove that he didn't make this up. He's been telling people that Connors developed this serum and he's gonna wreak havoc on the city, and everybody just kind of thinks that Spider-Man's the bad guy because he's like a vigilante. So he's gonna take a picture to prove that there is this lizard, and he leaves that picture up there, or the camera up there, and the lizard finds it, and it just says on the back of it, it's like scrawled all over, "Property of Peter Parker," and it's like huge. Like, okay, it's just funny. Like, I understand putting your name on a camera or something, but A, if you're Spider-Man, don't bring your camera with your giant nameplate on it, and B, who scrawls a nameplate that's like the size of the entire back of the camera? That's just kind of ridiculous. And he doesn't keep his identity a secret very well at all. He tells about 6 people in this movie or something. Everybody knows that he's Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and you won't have to look very hard to figure it out either, because there's a couple scenes where he's not in costume. He's Peter Parker at school or wherever, and he's running around beating people up and running towards a giant lizard when everybody else in the school is running away. It's kind of like, could you try a little bit to be secret about this? I guess not. So yeah, there's that. Oh, the lizard's special effects weren't that great. I understand this is like a giant computer-generated image and huge digital creature, but this is a giant movie. This is a huge budget, and I just didn't think any of the effects looked great at all. There's a scene where there's like a bunch of smoke. He tries to release like an aerosol weapon. It's like just look bad. It looks super fake. Like, just get some green fog machines. Seriously, like don't make it out of computer. It just looked crappy. I didn't think his effects were good at all, and just kind of added to the reasons I didn't like it. And then I was kind of hoping that I had heard, you know, Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. I think they're actually might be dating in real life, or they did for a while. I'm not up to my celebrity gossip, but I had heard that they had really good chemistry in the movie too. So I was kind of interested in that. We'll see. I thought Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst worked well in their movies, and I was like, well, if they can do the same or better, because I kept hearing that they had good chemistry, and oh man, people were wrong. Anybody that says that, you guys were wrong. I'm just gonna tell you that right now, and I think it's largely due to the fact that Andrew Garfield's character, and maybe just him in general, is annoying. He's kind of annoying. He just rambles and talks really fast, and it's not as bad as like Shia LaBeouf ranting around, just blabbing all over the place. But there's a scene where he goes over and has dinner with Gwen and her parents, so Captain Stacy, played by Dennis Leary, is there and stuff like that. And he just like gets in an argument with him right away. There's arguing. It's really annoying. It's like I shouldn't be mad at this conversation that they're having. I just kept thinking, this is the first time you've met her family at all, and you're at a dinner and you're just sitting there like yelling at her dad and arguing. I was like, you're the most conspicuous person ever, and like not normal acting. That's just weird. And then even the scenes with him and her alone, he's really annoying. And there's a scene that, oh, it's so, you know, realistic because he's kind of nerdy and shy. It's just awkward. They don't even say like, oh, you want to, maybe sometime we'll do this, or maybe we can do that. And she's like, oh yeah, we can do it. Okay, well, yeah, I get it. You're supposed to be kind of awkward around her, but you're making me feel awkward. I don't want to feel weird and annoyed by watching you be awkward in front of her. Anyways, I didn't like that. And what else? Yeah, I didn't like it that well. It wasn't even very entertaining on an action standpoint. Whereas I could turn on the first two originals and watch those all day. I don't know how many times I've seen this Spider-Man 2. That movie's awesome. The third one falters pretty bad just because there's so much going on in it. Too many, and the emo stage, that was really bad. But yeah, it wasn't that fun to watch. It wasn't that great. It had the strength of the innovation that they did with the web shooters. I like that for some reason. I really like that. That was cool. And then it started out good. I thought there was going to be really funny moments with him, like when he dresses up in the car for the first time, and that doesn't carry through at all. It's not funny. It's just sad. If you're going to reboot a movie pretty shortly after the first trilogy ended, you know, you better do something better. So it was really kind of putting me off of seeing the second one, especially since they have so many villains in this new one. That's going to be, you know, that calls back to the third Spider-Man where they introduced too many villains, so not looking good. I'll probably wait. I might have to wait another 2 years to see that one finally. So yeah, I'm giving it a 2.75 out of 5. I could have given it worse. I mean, I rate these right after I watch them, so that's what I thought. I guess, you know, it's not super low. 2.5 would be right in the middle, but definitely could have been better. Movie connections, just the other 3 Spider-Man movies. And I guess I would sign off with the classic line, with great power comes great responsibility. But they don't even use that. I was waiting for them to say that, and they didn't even use it. I guess with great power comes a voicemail from your Uncle Ben on your phone.